tip number one, knowing where their money does go. And so that's really looking at, if you're a W-2 employee, including in that, what's being withheld for taxes, what's being withheld for your participating in your employer's retirement funds, really understanding from a very holistic and a 3,000-foot view, how much income does the family have and where is that going? So for young lawyers, it's understanding how, student debt, which is going to be a large burden for our young attorneys, how is that fitting into their financial picture, where their lifestyle dollars are going, and how it is that they're preparing for retirement. When we look at mid-career attorneys, where we have student debt starting to diminish a little bit more, but then there's oftentimes those lifestyle expenditures that creep in and we start to take on more debt. How does that fit in with our tax picture, and really understanding, again, holistically where it goes. For our attorneys that own their firms, understanding really what did they make last year, how were they able to plan for taxes, how were they able to plan for retirement, and then how that lifestyle and how the savings pictures fit in around those different variables. Here at Tax Time, it's a great opportunity because we receive those year-end statements. So we have that opportunity to look at our full financial picture and start to put things into context proportionately, where are our dollars actually going? So building on that first tip that we had, the second tip is understanding where your money should go. The ratio that we use, which we generally refer to as the financial balance guidelines, which is nothing specific to our firm, it's kind of a concept that's out there, is 50% to your needs, 30% to your lifestyle, and 20% to your savings. That 50% to your needs does include taxes and all of your debt. So people oftentimes think about what they're bringing home in their paycheck, and that 50% seems like it's overwhelming. You do need to take that step back, as we talked about in tip one, understand holistically where your dollars are going. So that threshold, or that rule of thumb, is still 50% to debt, 30% to lifestyle, and 20% to your savings. Savings does include saving for college for your children as well. The third tip that really financially successful attorneys have in mind is a retirement accumulation goal. So that's based off of really what is the expenditure they want to make in their retired years, factoring in some of the other income sources that they have, and really thinking through what is the duration? When do I actually want to retire? Between those variables, we can come up with, or it can be defined, what is the amount of dollars you need to have to be able to retire. That retirement accumulation goal really is a great motivator to help people save. And it's one of those things that allows us to know what it is we're really actually working for. Our fourth tip for attorneys that are financially successful and that really feel comfortable in their skin when it comes to how their dollars and how their financial life is handled is having an annual savings goal. That relates to the third tip of knowing what that actual full dollar amount's going to be at retirement, and it also relates to the second goal of knowing where your money should go. When we take that that actual lump sum of retirement dollars that you want to have to be able to retire, we can look back, or any good financial advisor can take a look back and really calculate for you based off of assumed risk, assumed return, and some of your different very personal needs and your personal relationship with money to help define what amount needs to be set aside per year for you to accomplish that goal. When we got to our second tip of knowing where your money should go, we look at that savings amount and then we compare to that 20% threshold. That can help inform us, are we thinking we're going to be overspending in retirement? Should we be a little bit more lofty about what our retirement goal is? And what are some of those levers that we can help kind of maneuver, working longer, saving more, understanding that you might have you might not be able to spend as much as you wanted to in retirement. But those should all be very conscious decisions made throughout your working years, so that when you get to the end of your working years, you don't have any unpleasant surprises. The fifth tip that we have for attorneys, financially successful attorneys, is not to make any large decisions based off of a gut feeling. That does go back to the second rule that we talked about in terms of knowing where your dollars should go. But for young attorneys, it's going to be purchasing that first house, funding a wedding, those very lifestyle specific expenditures that are, larger dollar amounts, but that we'd like to help plan around paying for them out of cash flow, not taking on a lot of debt burden. When it's the mid-career attorneys, it's the question of, is it time to start your own practice? Are we looking at a second home? And oftentimes, how are we going to pay for college for our young ones? Again, those are decisions that we don't want to see made financially off of a gut instinct or off of a feeling, but something that we can really plan around. And that goes the same for our attorneys that own their own practice. Are we getting ready to do a large marketing push? Are we getting ready to refurbish, the building that we work from, or possibly to purchase that building that we work in? Those should all be things that we can start to look at. That 30% lifestyle expenditure number. How do we factor in some of those major milestones that people want to accomplish on their financial lives? And we should be looking at those down the horizon, so when we get there, it's not a gut reaction. It's not something where we take on unnecessary debt or where we end up looking at financial terms that aren't as advantageous, because you're not sitting in a position of power in terms of having a lot of those dollars ready and available for you to use.